Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I want to talk about the W-4 form because y'all know before I went to bed after I left my office yesterday, I made a post yesterday in reference to me seeing a lot of people not having any taxes withheld from their W-2. And for a lot of people, that's a problem. But I think we need to kind of like talk about it so that if you do want some taxes taken out of your check, how you can actually get some taken out without pointing the finger and telling and saying, because the favorite thing is the people didn't change it. And really, if you really wanted it to change, you really could change it on your own. And you can make sure that something is getting taken out. But let's talk about, do you really even need something taken out? Because for everybody, it's not a bad thing. For some people, it is a bad thing. So for most, let's talk about taxes, right? Taxes wasn't really meant for people to just get a refund. The point of filing taxes is really so that the government can decide whether you owe them or not, and if you do, they want you to pay them. And if you go through the whole year and you have been paying them correctly, then they just want to see whether or not you owe them, right? So the goal for filing taxes really honestly is that you're breaking even. You don't want to pay too much and you don't want to pay too little so that you don't owe them. Okay, so that's really what taxes is all about. But of course, I don't know when it started. It's being about whether a person get a refund or not. That's the biggest talk around filing taxes. And most people who get refunds, they have this thing in their mind where they supposed to get like these huge refunds back. Not knowing that when you file taxes is literally about, and whether you're going to get a refund or not, it's really about how much income you made, what tax credits do you qualify for, and how much taxes you actually had withheld. That's what makes up a refund. Now, you as a taxpayer has a decision to make when it comes to the beginning of the year, when it comes to filing your taxes. You have three different ones. Either you're going to not pay enough during the year and you're going to possibly owe the IRS at the beginning of the year. You're going to fix it where you don't owe them, they don't owe you, and you can break even, which I rarely ever see that one. Or you're going to get a refund. And you're going to get the refund. Good morning, Bernard. You're going to get the refund based off, do you qualify for certain credits, or did you actually pay some money in taxes during the year? That's how it works. Now, we're talking about the W-4 form, right? Because ultimately, a lot of people are shocked. I don't know why though, because we've been filing taxes forever. And even though the new W-4 form, and it really ain't new because it's been out for a lot of years now, but the new W-4 form got a lot of people in a chokehold because when you come file your taxes in the last couple of years, a lot of people are not paying that much withholdings during the year. So let's talk about why. So I think the form was changed back probably in 2018, somewhere around that. I think around the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, when that was put out, back when Trump was back first in office, okay? That's when the W-4 form got changed. And when he was in office the first time, it was changed, and the goal for the new W-4 form was for people to be able to bring more money home in their paychecks versus possibly receiving a refund at the beginning of the year. Now, when they did that, they changed the way you fill out the form. And the reason why they changed it is because they wanted taxpayers to be able to see more money in their paycheck than actually at the beginning of the year. But what that has done is it has got a lot of taxpayers owing the government and barely getting a refund back. And this has been going on for the last couple of years. Now, as far as how to fill it out, honestly, I don't even like really telling my clients how to fill it out that much, because it's a tricky form. And if you don't have all the information that you need to fill out the form, it's kind of hard for you to tell someone, especially over the phone, how to actually fill the form out, because it's based off different scenarios, different types of situations. And so, but if you fill it out a certain way, it's not going to take taxes out. It don't matter if you select exempt or not. It's not going to take taxes out because you have filled it out for it not to take taxes out. Because you got to understand, a lot of people to get taxes, not necessarily a lot of people, but some people do actually have taxes taken out. So what's the difference between you who don't have none taken out and the person that actually has some taken out? It's the way you fill the form out. So first of all, it tells you to select your filing status, right? The reason why it's telling you to select your filing status is because every filing status has a number attached to it, which is a standard deduction. And based off that, that's gonna decide too, like when and how they're gonna start taking out taxes. Okay, so every filing status has a number attached to it. And then when you go to the next couple of lines after the filing status, it's different areas. I should have printed one out. It's different areas that have certain things that it asks you. So one of the things is it asks you, do you have multiple jobs? And it asks you, are you filing a return with somebody else? Okay. Why is though that information is important, and you have to know that information. That information is important because your job is only going to take out what you tell it to. So if you're working multiple jobs and you're not letting those jobs know that you work multiple jobs, meaning you have more income that you're going to report when you file your taxes as a whole, then your W-2 is only going to go by, or the W-4 form is only going to go by what you're making at that particular job. And if you're filing with someone else, that income has to be a factor in how much they take out of your taxes, because your income is not the only income that's going to be considered when you get taxed, when you file your taxes. That area on the W-4 form, too many people skip. Okay, we skip over it, we read it, we might check something, but we don't actually do the actual calculations to that. And because of that, you might have multiple jobs, you might have another income revenue like Social Security, some type of retirement, you might withdraw money from your 401k. It's just so many different variables that you might have that your job don't know. Your job is only going by what you make at that one job. Okay, so that's one problem why a lot of y'all be owing, and then why they don't necessarily take taxes out. Then you have an area under that asks you how many dependents you have. Okay, and then when you tell them how many dependents you have, it tells you to time that by 2,000. Okay, and then it tells you to put that number on the line. So it's a lot of problems with that one. Okay, the problem with that, and what you don't know you're doing when you do that, now mind you filling the form out just like it's asking you. So that's where the problem come in at, because you're following instructions. But what happens is that's the one of the biggest parts of the form that's stopping you from getting taxes taken out. So a lot of you all might have more than 1, 2, 3 dependents, and you don't file them on your actual taxes, but when you fill out your W-4 form, you're counting them. So you're multiplying that number by 2,000. Okay, and you're putting that number there. And they're not going to start taking taxes out your check until they get to a certain number based off that particular number. What that is really is it was put in place really kind of sort of for you to get your child tax credit if you qualify for it for those kids during the year. That's why it says multiply if you got like I think under a child under 17 or something like that times 2,000, and then if it's over 17 do it times 500 or whatever. It's because you really getting those credits in your paycheck. So when you come file your taxes, that's why your refund is not as big, because they gave you that money all year. So when you put something in that area, then they most definitely going to take the least amount of taxes out, if any. Because again, it's kind of like they're giving you a tax credit. Instead of getting it when you file your taxes, they're giving it to you when during the year when you get your paycheck. So that's the issue. And if you don't want them to take that amount, then you might not want to put anything in that area, even though it's telling you to multiply it by so and so. Because again, when this W-4 form was created, it was created for you to take more. Good morning, y'all. It was created for you to take more money home in your paycheck. That's why it's different. Somebody asked, well, why they don't have like 1 dependent, 2 dependent, 3 dependents or whatever anymore. The idea was for you to know how much you make, know how many people you claim, and they were supposed to balance it out to where you really kind of supposed to break even. You don't really supposed to be owing. You don't really supposed to whatever. It's supposed to give you more money in your paycheck. That's what it was for. And then at the bottom, again, I should have had the form so I can tell y'all the exact lines, but at the bottom it asks you about like, do you have other income? And that would be like self-employment. That would be taxes, income that you might then pay taxes on. You might in a year got some special income that you don't usually get, and no taxes was withheld. So now you want to make sure that those taxes are paid possibly through your paycheck, and to consider that income is going to be added to your wages. So again, that's another factor. That's another factor. But if you don't tell your W-4 form that you got other income from other places on your W-4 form, then when you file your taxes, you're going to not pay enough, because it's not just looking at that income. It's looking at other income. It's just looking at that income. And then for those people who you just work one job, then a lot of the problem is that, and you don't have any other income, you might not have a spouse or anything that you're filing with. The problem is that line where it's telling you to add up times 2,000, however many dependents you got. That's what's keeping them from paying, taking out taxes from your paycheck. So it's a lot of variables. Now, everybody is not going to hurt everybody, okay? It don't hurt everybody. So people who make under a certain dollar amount, and I'm just throwing out numbers, trying to give an estimate of numbers. Say you make under $30,000 and you have 2 or more dependents. If you don't have any taxes withheld, it's not going to hurt you. The only thing it's going to do is decide how much your refund is going to be. Right? Because you're going to qualify for the child tax credit, or the additional child tax credit, and you're going to qualify for the earned income tax credit. The more you get over $30,000, the more you need to make sure you're having withholdings from your check, because after you get over a certain amount, you're not going to qualify for certain credits. So what your refund, or if you paid enough taxes, is determined on is if you had any withholdings. So the real problem comes in really a lot of times with taxpayers, which is a lot of y'all, who say make 50,000 plus, and I'm not going to even say around 45,000 maybe. But when you make 50,000 plus, I don't care if you got 2-3 dependents. I don't, you need to be paying some taxes, because it's not too much that's going to balance you out. And I'm talking about people who just come get their taxes done every year. Now, if you want to go pay a tax planner, a tax strategist to teach you how to, possibly do certain things to, not have to pay that much back, it's strategy that's in there. Okay? It's strategy that's in there. But if you just a regular person coming every year to get your taxes prepared, you ain't doing no tax planning during the year, and you make 50,000 plus, you need not have zero in your federal withholdings. Okay. Again, for some people who's making, the comfortable spot is 30,000 and under, with 2 dependents or more, even possibly with 1 dependent. But even with 1 dependent, the income is not that low, because 1 dependent ain't doing that much. If you start making over 25,000, it might still give you a decent refund at 25, 30, 31, 32,000. You still might get something. But when you start getting over that dollar amount, then you need to have some taxes withheld, because you're not really qualifying for a whole lot. And the child tax credit is not an automatic credit where you just automatically get $2,200. If you have not paid taxes or had taxes withheld during the year, you'll get the credit, but you're not going to get that in your pocket. That credit is only going to offset where you don't possibly owe the IRS. So it's not everybody that has to have taxes taken out. Now, if you want a certain type of refund, you want a bigger refund, and you are, like I say, 30,000 and under, then yeah, you want to possibly pay some taxes if you want a bigger refund. But if you 30-some thousand, you got 1, 2, 3 dependents, you're gonna get a refund regardless. So if you don't pay no taxes, or you do pay taxes and you got dependents, then you're gonna get a refund. How much of a refund is gonna depends on how many dependents you have, and did you have some withholdings taken out. Now for my people who say they did a form right, okay, because I just see somebody in my box. She said, I did my form right, and I always put me and my 2 kids, but they didn't take in. So you put you and your 2 kids, and you did that times 2,000. You might just be coming in, Tamika. But if you did that times 2,000, then, and you put $4,000 on that line, that's not necessarily right if you want a refund, because that means they're not going to take taxes out. So anybody who listens to this, when they say how many dependents times 2,000 and you put a number on that line, they're not going to take that much taxes out, if any. Depends on how much your income is. They're not. Because you're ultimately electing for them to give you more money in your paycheck. Okay? They're ultimately giving you more, you ultimately electing for them to give you more money in your paycheck. Now, for those who, say you be filling it out right and they ain't changing it or whatever, you can really control how much they take out, and if they take something out. It's a line, I think it's 4C. If somebody looking at it or whatever, I think it's line 4C. And on 4C, it says, do you want any additional withholdings taken out? So the best thing is if your W-4 has been the same forever, and if you change it, it is still not taking no taxes out, then you need to put something on 4C. What I tell my clients is think about how many times a year you get paid, right? So how many times you get paid a month? Do you get paid once a month, twice a month, 4 times a month? How many times? Calculate that by the year, okay, to figure out how many times you get paid during the year. What is your gross income, okay? Times that by 10 to 15%. You choose which one you want to do. And then you put that amount in 4C. That's going to help you pay something, or maybe enough to where you're paying your taxes during the year. Now, and you can't say the job didn't do it, because if you put it there, they're going to take it. Y'all hold 1 second. Y'all hold 1 second. I got an interview. Let me let her in. Hold on. Okay, that means I'm talking to y'all too long. All right. So, again, 4C. So, go on 4C. All right. And even if you don't, say you don't want to do the 10 to 15%, how much do you want them to take out your check per pay period? Okay. So say you might not want them to take what they want to take, but you want to pay something. You do not want it to be zero. Then select what you feel comfortable of them taking out of your check, so that you don't have zero when it's time to file your taxes and then you're looking crazy. So it's a way, even if you fill your form out a certain way, for them to still be able to take something out. You just have to put what that something is on 4C. So we can't just be like, oh, they did this, they did that, whatever. This is the hack. If you want anything taken out, okay, all right, if you want anything taken out, you can select put a dollar amount in 4C. I say 10 to 15%. If your income real high, you can do more, but if you don't want to go that high, whatever that number is, then come up with something that you're comfortable with and put something in that line. At least you're paying something. Okay, that's the hack. Latoya say if you check box 2C, they will take the max amount that's supposed to be withheld. Okay, so I got to do an interview, so I got to get off here. But yeah, everybody's different. When it comes to withholdings, you decide ultimately what you want your beginning of the year look like, whether you want a big refund or whether or not you just don't care if you don't owe or not. As long as you don't owe, if you owe, I just pay at the beginning of the year. It's really your choice on what you want. But the problem with you all coming in our office as tax pros and you got nothing in box 2 is the fact that y'all want us to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get you some money back because you didn't have any taxes withheld. Like, that's what the problem is. Or you're owing and you don't qualify for nothing, and so you're getting very little back, or you owe and now you got to pay out of pocket. Or y'all come in and y'all be thinking like, we don't know what we doing because you didn't have no taxes taken out. Taxes and what your refund is, again, and I think people really need to understand this, is based off, again, how much income did you make. That determines a lot because it's going to determine whether or not you qualify for certain credits, qualify for certain deductions, right? It depends on your filing status, and whether you have dependents or not. If you don't have no dependents and you're just single and you ain't paying no taxes, you're going, oh, it ain't too many things out there that's going to keep you from owing. Unless you do tax planning during the year. It's not. If you didn't pay no taxes, you can't get no money back. So if you're single, you need not to play with it at all. And you need to be paying all that you're supposed to pay, or you're going to owe. If you do got dependents, it's going to determine, how many dependents you're claiming, how much you're going to get back. But that's going to also be based off your income. So let me go. I got a person waiting for me, but I just wanted to come and just talk about a little bit. Everybody's situation is different. Don't compare your situation to nobody else. Some of y'all do not need to change it. Some of y'all need to have zero, and so you get all your money all year because you're still going to get a refund regardless. Some of y'all need to stop playing. You make a lot of money. You cannot be not paying no taxes. You can't compare yourself to the president and Bill Gates and whoever else, these millionaires and billionaires. You can't compare yourself to them, right? That ain't how the world works. But you also got to stop trying to put pressure on us, and people have to all being out here going to jail because they're trying to satisfy you, right? Because you chose not to have any taxes withheld. When you don't have no taxes withheld, it really, really affects what's going on in a lot of cases. But anyway, let me go. Got stuff to do. Right, y'all. Actually, go ahead and just watch the replay. Just watch the replay. Bye, y'all.